Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
Excellent. Fantastic. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. You've done some traveling recently. Have you ever
Yes.
had anything preposterous happen to you while traveling?
Preposterous. Wow. Yeah. Well, let's see. I had my camera stolen once in Argentina,
Ah.
but it's okay. I'm over it. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, no. Basically I've had a lot of luck while traveling. I'm pretty nimble. I like to just watch my things and just be careful on the street, but geez, a lot of places are just so pleasant and wonderful to travel in. So I've been lucky. I've been
Yeah.
lucky. Yes.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also, as you know, I was pickpocketed as well. So I had my phone
Amsterdam,
stolen.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. We have
Yes.
talked about that a
We
lot on the
remember.
show. Yep. Yep. Amsterdam. That was kind of preposterous. But today we're going to answer a listener's question about this word. So this was a really
Yes.
good, specific question, which we love. But before we get into it, we wanted to share some results of a recent poll that we did on Spotify. So this was for episode 2261. If you didn't listen yet, head on over and listen to that after this episode. So that was in my former life, how to share who you used to be in English. So, Lindsay, what was the poll for this?
I love this poll.
We had fun.
So fun. We said, what do you feel when you look at pictures of yourself from 20 years ago? And I'm going to share the results now. I know what I would vote, but here's what our listeners voted. I look totally different was 50% of you. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
20 years is a long time. So
Yeah.
it does make sense. Or I look about the same, 30%. People are aging well, like that too.
Yep.
Or the one I would have said, because I don't understand how you can't think this, right? Cringe, what was
Uh-huh.
going on with my hair slash fashion slash shoe choices, right? I
Right.
just don't even understand how to not think that because I don't know. I'm
It's
not
all,
even a big
yeah.
fashion person. I don't follow trends, but when I look at old photos, I think, why did I think I should wear that? What was I doing? What, you know?
Right, right, right. Oh,
So,
yeah, it's hard to not think that for sure. So
yeah.
I'm sure, yeah. Well, it looks like 20% of our listeners agree with you,
Yeah,
Lindsay, about
it's so
themselves.
funny. Yeah, we love these polls, guys. Remember, you need to be in Spotify to participate in these polls, but come on over and make your voice heard so we can get to
Yes.
know each other as a community. All right.
Yes, exactly, exactly. All right, so Lindsay, today we have a question, as I said, from Fareshte. And would you like to read it?
Yeah. So Fareshte says, "Hi, Lindsay. Hope you're doing well. Thanks a lot for all of your time and efforts on All Ears English. I
Mhm.
wondered if the word preposterous is a suitable word to use in daily conversations about a silly thing or it might be rude to use. Thanks, sincerely, Fareshte." Love that this listener is thinking, is something rude? Is something polite? Is it too silly? Is the tone correct?
Right. Right. No, I mean that's huge, right? It's one thing to just know what the word means, but you have to
Hmm.
know the context behind it, and that's so much of what this podcast is about, in my opinion.
Yes.
So,
Hmm.
all right, well, let's get into it, Lindsay. What does preposterous mean, basically?
Yeah, basically, it's a negative word. It means ridiculous.
Mhm.
And so we're going to get into it a bit more and kind of define what situations it would work for. It's definitely, like I said, it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
But Foreste is asking if it's okay to use it in daily conversations about something that's silly. I don't know,
Mm.
Michelle. You let me know what you think here.
Well, I think it's like anything. It depends on your tone of voice. It
Hmm.
depends on the context. So what we're going to do to help answer this is give you lots of examples, right? So and we'll
Yeah.
talk it through. But it is a very extreme sounding word. It is also kind of a funny sounding word. To me it's almost a little fun to say. Like I
Yeah.
love the word perturbed because I
Perturbed.
think it's a fun word to say in
Yeah.
my opinion, and also preposterous. It's also
Yeah.
you almost feel the word in the way it comes out. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yeah, completely. It makes me think of, I don't know if this was Princess Diary or some, when one of the famous actor, he goes, "Inconceivable,"
That's the
right?
Princess Bride.
Ah, Princess Bride. I always get the 2 confused. But that
Yes.
kind of falls into this category of it's really about how you deliver it. And so my
Right.
example at the top of the show about having my camera stolen wasn't the best. And
Yep.
so it's delivery, it's it's kind of more about who's saying it and what situation you're describing it.
Right.
Describing. Yeah, I
Right,
think.
right, right. So, I mean,
Inconceivable.
inconceivable, yes. That's a very famous one, guys. If
Famous
you haven't
line.
seen The
Yeah.
Princess Bride, you should definitely check it out. So you could use this word, in my opinion, you could use it about something silly in a humorous way, kind of like inconceivable. So for example, you could be using it to kind of be a little bit of a teasing in a way, or for self-deprecating humor, or even in a good way. So we're gonna do a follow up on that topic. I have some ideas in mind,
Okay.
about words that are negative but are used in a good way, and
Okay.
how So definitely hit follow on this podcast. So, um, but let's give some examples. Lindsay, what's the first one?
All right. So talking about your outfit, is that where we're at here in our
Yes,
notes, Michelle? All
yes.
right. I know my outfit is preposterous, isn't it? I can't believe I got red wine all over it. So what am I saying here? I'm saying I wore the wrong color, knowing I was
Right.
going to drink red wine. Is that what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, it could be that, but it could also just be the way I was thinking of it is like maybe you got red wine all over it, and then you have to go around the room, and
Yeah.
you're kind of acknowledging, oh yeah, I know it's preposterous. Look at this.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at what happened.
When I think about this word, it's a little bit, it feels like stage language, kind of. It feels like
Mm.
something that would be written into a play more for
Mm.
me, more than like in a daily conversation. It has to be, I don't know, there's some
A little
aspect, it's a
larger
little
than life.
theatrical. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little
it's
larger than life.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. You're not using it about just anything.
Right,
So it would
right.
have to be there's red wine over your outfit. This is preposterous.
Yeah.
It's not used. I mean, it can be used casually, but just for about something big. So
Right.
or
Or
you
coming from a big personality where
right.
you
Yes.
really want to over exaggerate, or maybe you've had a little too much red wine and you're just you think everyone's listening to you. It's preposterous that I have red wine on my shirt. Right.
I could see okay, see, I
You
could
know
see
what I
that
mean?
for sure.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
yes, exactly, exactly. Or maybe you're kind of trash talking with somebody
Yeah, yeah,
about you're gonna play a game with them and they're saying, "Oh, I'm gonna beat you." You might say, "Ah, that's preposterous. Of course,
yeah.
I'm the one who will beat you."
Right. See, it's a little theatrical. It's a little bit, there's a
Yes.
little bit of kind of, what's the word, like positioning here. There's a
Right.
little positioning, there's a delivery. So I will say it's not really in my day-to-day language, this word, something
Yeah.
that I use, because I don't tend to, I'm not very theatrical, but a lot of people are. And if that's your personality, I love this as an option, you know?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can use it in a playful way, I think, because it has that funny, over the top,
Over the top.
theatrical sound.
Hmm.
Um, but the question is it rude? So, in my opinion, not if used in that way. If you're being serious and using that word, which we're going to talk about now, how it's used in a more serious
Mm.
way, it may be offensive. So, but sometimes you do need to be direct. So
Yeah.
Lindsay, you already mentioned, this isn't really in your vocabulary so much. I don't know that it's in mine that much either. Again, this is not a word that you're going to use every day. I'm also thinking about, actually, maybe let's talk about this after, after the
Okay.
break.
Okay, after the break. All right, Michelle. So we are back. And I like that you brought it back to the original question, right? Is it rude?
Right,
And so it's a lot about the context here. And what
right.
exactly are you saying and who are you saying it to? Are you being, again, theatrical and kind of being a bit more exaggerated and character like? Or are you being direct? And we're going to look at more serious examples
Right.
now. Yes.
Right. So in the more serious way that it might be used, this actually the way that I've been seeing it a lot is in interviews on the news, especially with the election coming up. You might hear somebody say, "Oh, Trump said this, Harris said this, or something," and then somebody might comment, "Oh, well, I think that's just preposterous." right?
Yeah, I think so. I would say it's less likely that the actual like we had the debate last night, right? When
Yeah.
we're recording this, we're
Yeah.
in September. There was a big presidential debate, and it less likely to hear it from the candidates because it takes longer to say it. You kind of have to get, I don't know, you have to be a little more dramatic to say that. But from a commentator,
A
where their
commentator,
job literally, and by the
exactly.
way, these days CNN is very heavy on talking heads and commentators. Which when we were in Slovenia, side point, there was actual news on CNN.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was investigative journalism. It was a much more global perspective. The contrast was so different, Michelle. I couldn't believe it. And I think
Really?
CNN has kind of become a bit more entertaining, and you have the talking heads and kind of debating with each other. And
Yeah.
I miss the actual news.
I know, and it's hard to know, and it's almost it feels like there's nowhere to turn
There's nowhere to
for
turn.
actual
Yeah.
news. It's like what any most I mean, unless you watch the local news, which isn't
Right.
really gonna give you
Which,
that information about the election or things like that,
yeah.
it's hard to find a news source that is
Yeah. That's a
honest
problem.
honestly, I really think it seems like all of most of
Everything.
them are just very biased.
Yeah, things have changed a lot. Anyway, side point, maybe
Anyway, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah, we
another
could talk about
episode.
that.
But when you travel abroad, you notice certain things, like
CNN International.
CNN International, how different it is, and just a more global perspective, which I am jealous to not be able
Yeah.
to be exposed to that. So, anyways,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
moving on.
So all right, but let's give here. So as I said, something like this. Your argument here is preposterous. You have nothing to back up your claims. So I
Mhm.
started to say that in a very dramatic way because it does feel very
Yes.
dramatic.
Right, and just the way you delivered the word with your intonation, Michelle,
Preposterous.
preposterous. I could see you on stage right now.
Yeah.
Even though this is a more serious example, so maybe a lawyer maybe could say that in a courtroom,
Sure. Yep.
right?
Yep.
Prosecutor, defense attorney, maybe, who knows? Here's another one. This line is preposterous. When will they get more people to start working at the register? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
Have you ever been on one of those lines at the grocery store or something and you're just looking
yeah.
around and there's no one else?
Yeah,
And
totally.
you're like, so you could say, "Oh my god, this is preposterous." But again, very dramatic. So
Dramatic. It's
you you can
dramatic. It's
you can make
dramatic.
that decision.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
And then there are some other things we might say. The tone might be slightly different, like laughable. This is a pretty good match, though. It's laughable that you think I might actually consider doing a 5 mile run in the rain. Yeah, because I'm like, I know I'm going to the movies.
Right, right, right.
Right.
Exactly. So these don't necessarily, not all of these don't, it's not a one for one match
Yeah.
necessarily, but they're pretty close. But yeah, laughable or illogical. So this
Yeah.
is the one that is pretty different. I mean, but still
Hmm.
could be used in the same idea. That statement is illogical, right? It doesn't make sense. So you could say it's based on your feeling and we only work on facts.
Yeah. Or ridiculous. Ridiculous would be the more common one that you might hear more often, right?
Yeah.
The prices at that restaurant are ridiculous. Let's go somewhere else.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Good.
So
Hmm.
do you have any that are your favorite, Lindsay? What would you be most likely to use?
I would say ridiculous. I also
Yeah,
say
I think
I
it's
say
ridiculous.
insane a lot. Like I'll say those prices are insane. Like
Yeah,
that's honestly like where I go the most. But we
yeah.
have done an episode on
If it
sometimes we might want to be careful with
right,
that term at
right.
times, but it's it's still in my
Very
vocabulary.
common.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. Yeah, I think I would also be most likely to say ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, so should we do
Good.
a role play before we head on
Yes.
out?
Here we go. So we are friends and we're talking about our upcoming plans. Here we go. Okay. So should we get to the party at 6?
Lindsay, that's ridiculous. You know we have to be fashionably late.
Fine, fine, but I don't want to leave during rush hour. That'd be just illogical.
Okay, yeah, true. And the traffic is ridiculous at that time. Oh, used it again.
Yeah, between the two of us, this whole party is preposterous. I don't even know why we're going.
Oh, come on, let's be supportive.
It
Okay.
reminds
I
me
forgot.
I
Yeah, go
have
ahead.
I have a friend, she used to live in New York, and once we went to a party together, and it was like a New York party, cool people, you're not supposed to show up on time.
Yeah.
She insisted we show up like 5 minutes early, and you
Oh,
could tell the host was super annoyed with her. She's like getting out of
that's
the shower. She's like, "Why are you here?"
oh my
Everyone else came
gosh.
at 9 and we came at like 7:50, and I'm like,
Oh,
"Why are we doing this? Why are we here?"
that's really funny. Yep,
Yeah.
that's that's funny. So yeah, same idea. I forgot to use laughable, so sorry about that, but I used
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous twice, so there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So I said, Lindsay, that's ridiculous. You know we have to be fashionably late.
Yeah, and I think, well, using ridiculous twice is probably more on target
True,
for at least my
true,
vocabulary, I
yeah,
think,
true,
but laughable's fun too.
yeah,
It can be a bit of a backhanded insult for sure,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, and then you'd said, "Oh, fine, fine, but I don't wanna leave during rush hour." That'd, just be illogical. That'd just be illogical. That would just be illogical,
yes.
right? Mhm. That was a
um,
mouthful.
Yes, yeah, I know. And then I said, "Yeah, and traffic is ridiculous at that time." So,
Yeah, and then
seems
I'm
like
gonna
it's my
wind
favorite word.
ridiculous at this time, and I'm gonna wind up for this big, meaty word, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
between the two of us, this whole party is preposterous. You really have to punch that
Yeah.
intonation-wise,
Yeah. We've
don't
been
you?
kind of yes, yeah, preposterous. You're not just you would never say like, "Oh, it's just preposterous," like,
Right, right.
totally just
That's why,
whatever.
I'm saying I don't love my example at the top of the show because I would have chosen a different word, right? It's ridiculous that my camera got stolen. It's crazy. It's, I regret that I left it on the bed. But yeah, preposterous deserves being on stage, this
Right.
word, in a
Right.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So very dramatic, but yeah, I think that's the real takeaway for today is that this is a very dramatic word. It can be used in many different ways. There are more common words like ridiculous that you will hear more frequently.
Yeah.
But this one is a good one to use if you decide that it matches with the situation, with your personality type, whatever it may be.
Totally. And I would say also consume Broadway plays. Go, if you can't go to
Yeah.
Broadway, see if you can find the movies and get the same scripts. Go to off Broadway, watch the movies, like read literature. You're going to see it more in more theatrical
Yeah.
productions, I
Yeah.
think. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Or if it suits your personality, like Michelle said, go for it. But you got to wind up for it. You got to get ready and deliver it properly.
Do some stretches before,
Yeah,
yeah.
do the stretches, go to the gym, bicep
Preposterous.
work. It's funny. All right,
Fun.
good stuff. We better hop off the mic. Michelle, thanks for being on today.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Have a good
All right,
one.
bye.